I want you to notice what happened when I rang the bell. The first obvious thing that happened, because it's pretty damn loud, is the entire room came to a new kind of attention. And if you weren't looking this direction, you sure as hell are now. Okay? So everybody kind of turned to face this way. That's obvious. That's obvious what happened in the room. But inside each and every one of you, something also changed. Something also shifted. There was some kind of action there. And while I have no way of knowing what that reaction might have been, some of you may have said, oh my God, did that guy just ring a freaking meditation? Get me out of here. Others of you, because of your background or experience, maybe with this material, may have said, oh, he just rang a little meditation bell. This is going to be good. I'm glad I came. And I have no way of knowing how you reacted inside, but you do. And that's the whole point of this program. As far as we know, in all the millions of years of evolution on this planet, we are the first species who can be in the room, noticing or reacting to what's going on around us, and at the same time be inside ourselves, watching ourselves and how we respond to the world around us. And that, as an author called Doug Silsby calls it, that capacity to witness, that capacity to be a witness to our own experience, even as it's happening, gives us an extraordinary capability that, as far as we know, no other life on this planet has. It's the ability to be able to watch the way we're responding in real time and thereby change the way we respond in real time. Not to be victims of automatic responses like fight and flight, but to have choice. And that's what this entire program is about. It's about exercising that capacity to witness. So throughout this program, you or I, delivering this program, will say to people, what did you notice? When you say, what do you notice, don't mean, what do you notice in the room? It's, what did you notice inside? What did you feel in your gut? What was your reaction to that? And how did you react to that reaction? Because that ability, that meta-attention, as we call it in a few moments, that ability to attend to your own experience is absolutely unique. And that's what we want to tune into, because particularly in the last 100 years, we've tuned our entire species away from that incredible faculty. So we started to talk about a program called Mindful Leader. And what I want to do with this, to give you a flavor of, is I want to facilitate one part of the program and then talk to you about the advantages, the opportunities for you in delivering this program, and also talk about some of the challenges that come with this program. So let's start off with what's mindfulness, because there's so much talk about this, and there are so many people talking, what's the technical term, crap, about what mindfulness is, that's really important that we understand in a real practical sense for us as people who are helping people to become more mindful leaders, more mindful parents, more mindful people, to understand what do we mean by mindful, and to separate it from some of the really ridiculous types of definitions that are being applied to it. Now, sometimes when you talk about something, it's easier to define it in terms of what it's not. So, for example, if we didn't have black, it would be hard to describe white, right? If you didn't have up, what's down? If you didn't have big, what's small? So let's start off and talk about what's not mindful, okay? And I used to refer to this as mindlessness, but somebody came up to me afterwards on one of the sessions and they said, when you talk about being mindless, I get a picture in my mind of a guy in a jacket with no arms, be led down through a mental institution by guys in white coats. So the term I've started to use is autopilot, because most of the world, most of us, are operating on autopilot. You press our buttons, we respond. You press upon a particular part of our behavior, we respond without even thinking. So let me try and show you what I mean by autopilot, or the opposite of mindfulness. Now, all of you, I don't have to ask, all of you stand on your feet from time to time and you present to people. Okay? And the worst experience in the world is when you stand in front of people and you say, I need your help. I want you to work with me. I want you to talk with me. I want you to call out. I want you to respond. I want you to put up your hand. And they do nothing. And those of you who were at the safari last night, you noticed that the young guy who was standing up at the front doing the animal show had this nailed. Every time he got a half-assed response from people, he said, come on, guys, that's not good enough. Okay? Now, I shouldn't have to say that to you guys because you have been me. So when I say I want you to add numbers out loud, I mean out loud. Okay? So I'm going to, in a moment, I'm going to start putting up a series of numbers up on the screen. And I want you to give me your running total. So let me demonstrate for you. When I put that up, you're going to shout, 1,000! So let's just do a quick.
1,000!
And when I put up the next one, you're going to call out the running total, which is
1,040, 2,040, 2,070, 3,070, 3,090, 4,090, 5,000.
No, it's not like that. Now, let me just ask you, because we didn't check when you were coming into business, we didn't check on the IQ just to make sure that you had basic mathematical ability. So there may be some people in the room who are challenged in that way, but the likelihood is that you just became mindless for a moment. You just went on to autopilot. Because here's what happened. I put up 1,000, you said 1,040, perfect, wonderful, you're on track. 2,040, fantastic. 2,070, fantastic. Now here's where, to use an American or use an Australian expression, here's where your mind went walkabout. Okay? Because what happened at this point is your brain said, I know where this is going. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, go 4, 5, and you said, I wonder did I leave the kettle on at home? No, maybe you didn't say that. I wonder should I have taken my bags from the room before I left? I wonder is my flight going to be on time? You went walkabout. You went somewhere else. You were supposed to be here, but you went walkabout. And you didn't notice that the numbers changed slightly, so you got exactly what you wanted. And you got 4,090, and you never got to 4,100. You went mindless momentarily. You just lost focus on where you should have been. You decided you were going to focus on this simple thing, but you lost focus. Now, a lot of times, this doesn't matter. It doesn't cause any problem. Sometimes in business it can. For example, Mituo Securities, guy made a small mistake. Instead of putting up the share price of 610 yen as a share, he accidentally put up 610,000 shares for 1 yen. Well, and this was not a full day, it only lasted about an hour. 340 million loss in an hour. Have you ever made a mistake like that? Hell yeah. Because you were unintelligent? No. Because you weren't there. Because you were somewhere else. You were distracted. You were momentarily mindless. You were on autopilot. Barron's, the financial magazine. Now, let me ask you here this. He knew, he was told by the shareholders, half your team has to go. So he sat down and he wrote an email and said to all staff, and he wrote out the whole email with the rationale for why half of them were going and who they were going to be, and then he accidentally pressed send. And you know what that told me, because when I see all the anguished faces, you go, oh, Mother of Jesus. Oh, my God. Oh, can I call it back? And you know exactly what I'm talking about because you've done it. And most of the time now when you got something like that, if you got sense, because you know you're on autopilot instinctively, you don't put the name into the addressee field, into the destination field. And understandably, that caused a little bit of anguish. This one is a beauty. This young lady worked in the IT department of National Health Service in the United Kingdom. She sent out a test mail to 1.2 million national health employees. So far, not bad, but not good. Okay, 150 of them got pissed off. How dare you send me a test mail? And they hit reply all. 186 million emails were sent in the next couple of hours, and it stopped the entire National Health System's email in the United Kingdom. Momentary mindlessness, the inability to put their attention right here. Mindfulness is about placing your attention where you want it to be and knowing when it's moved away. Now, those are bad enough. I don't know if you remember that, Santiago de Compostela. Guy came on that train coming into the station in Spain, and he came into a bend that was rated at 50 kilometers an hour. And he came in at 80 kilometers an hour, And I have a video for that, which you can have. It's horrific. And he killed 79 people. He killed 79 people because at the time when he went into that bend, he wasn't trying to race to get home. He wasn't a youngster who was trying to see what could he get out of this thing. He was sending a text. So he was momentarily mindless. His attention had shifted to his text, and he didn't notice he was doing 80 kilometers an hour instead of 50 kilometers an hour, 79 minutes, or 79 people. We suffer from the illness of mindlessness, of autopilot, of not being able to replace our attention where we want it and keep it there. This is the longest running study in this whole area, running continually. Some of you may already get these texts coming into you that ask you, what are you thinking about right now? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you focused on what you're working on, etc.? 47% of our time globally is spent mind wandering. 47% of our time is spent with our head off in the clouds, focused on something other than what we want to be focused on. And you know what humans do when they mind wander? They don't wander to the best day of their lives. They catastrophize. They wander to the what if, and oh, I really should have. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, and oh God, what if something goes wrong? So 47% of the time is spent there. And it's getting worse. The trend is worse. 70% of leaders say they can't pay attention in meetings. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but I bet there were times during this meeting when, even though you were fascinated by the content, your mind went walkabout, and you suddenly read, what? Or somebody says, from the front says, so what do you think of that? Let me have a show of hands. And you say, oh, Mother of God, what are we putting our hands on for? And you look for the most number of hands and you join that group. And the majority of people are doing nothing about it. This is an intervention that helps them do something about it. Here's the critical point for people. All of the research, and there is 20 years of research, commercial and neuroscientific, that shows no matter what you're doing, first off, there's no gray. You're either doing it mindfully, full attention, or you're doing it mindlessly. It's binary. And when you're doing it mindfully, it's better. When you're here, your well-being is better. When you're here, your mental health is better. When you're focused upon the task in hand, your productivity is better. You're more creative and so on. So the challenge is, how do we help people to be here in the moment, focused upon what they need to be focused upon? Okay, so focus and attention. Let me just give you, first off, a definition. Mindfulness is just about attention. For our purposes, it's just about knowing that wherever I choose to focus at any moment in time is where I focus. Now, people will say to you when you deliver this material, oh, but I work in a very busy environment. I can't just say I'm going to focus on this and ignore everything else around me. Of course you can't. Somebody runs into a room to say the building's on fire, we have to get out. You don't say, I'm sorry, I'm doing my expenses. I'll be back to you in about 10 minutes. It's about knowing, oh, I've just been distracted. Now, is that distraction more important than what I was focused on, or do I want to go back? That's mindfulness. And according to Accenture, it is the single most important predictor of personal and business success in the current climate. The ability to be able to place one's attention where you want it and maintain it there. So it's critical at an individual and at a business level. So how do you develop it? Well, if you wanted to develop your biceps, you go to the gym and you find one of those people, say it's sadistic folks who they call personal trainers, who get their jollies out of telling you, just pick up these two weights, which are just, they know are slightly too heavy for you. And they say, give me 10 reps. And you go, yeah, no problem, 1. Yeah, no. Yeah, okay. 5. And when you get to that point where you're really struggling, then they say, you could do 1 more, and you're thinking, I could happily strangle you, and you do it, and then you fail. They say, in the moment that you failed, you just succeeded. In the moment that you failed, and you trained that muscle to failure, you just created the conditions for that muscle to grow back stronger. That is how we train the muscle of attention. And for your information, and it's in the facilitator's guide, which we'll share with you shortly, that analogy holds really, really true. because there is a huge amount of evidence to show that you grow the tissue in your brain in places like the insula and elsewhere that are responsible for maintaining tissue or maintaining attention simply by exercising the faculty of attention. Okay? So what we have to do to become more mindful is exercise the part of our brain that is responsible for attention. And just like exercise in the gym, saying, I'll go once a year and I'll do 7 hours in the gym, it doesn't work as well as saying, I'll go once a week and I'll spend 10 minutes. Or I'll go once a day and I'll spend 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. It needs to be exercised on a frequent basis to build that faculty. And that's what we look at. So let me show you what that looks like. And we're going to do one of the core practices that underpin the content of this program. And it's essentially, it is that mind gym. It's exercising the attention part of the brain. And it starts, I'm a former engineer, a recovering engineer. And so I like diagrams that explain the way things work. So let's say we start off, our intention here is to improve attention. We're going to use, when we do this exercise, we're going to use, to focus our attention, we're going to use something that is going to be available to us every day until the day we're no longer worried about focusing our attention. So, and that's the breath. Okay? So you will have the breath there as a convenient exercise tool, a convenient weight for you to work with every day until such time as I say, you don't care about it much longer. And I'm going to say to you, notice your breath going in, notice your breath going out, and all I'm asking you to do is just follow it, whether it's noticing the breath going in at the nostrils and down your neck and into your lungs and your abdomen and your lungs expanding and back out again. And people who haven't done this before say, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I can do this all day long. And what you find is, about a breath and a half in, that you get distracted. Somebody coughs, somebody makes a noise, or you think, I should have packed my bags, I should have done this, I should have done that, etc. But either way, you get distracted. And the secret of all of this practice is when you get distracted to recognize that you haven't failed, but you've succeeded. Because in the moment that you recognize you've lost attention, you've just become fractionally more mindful. Because mindfulness is about noticing attention and making a choice about where you're going to place it next. So we'll do the exercise in a moment. So what I'm saying is, you're all goal-oriented people. If you haven't done this practice before, you're going to go, you're going to be focused on the breath, and you're going to lose attention. You're going to think, damn, I couldn't even keep it for a breath and a half. I'm a disaster. Okay? What I want to suggest to you is that you be a little bit kinder to yourself. And instead of going from, or instead of having a self-critical, beat yourself up attitude, that you say, oh, I lost attention. And you just return the attention back and you carry on. So we're going to do that now in just a couple of minutes. And I'm going to exercise you through that. Now, here's the point. This is the repetition. Okay? When you start doing that, you follow the breath. You get distracted, you will. You notice you got distracted. You return to the breath. You do it often enough. That part of the brain that is responsible for managing the ability to maintain your attention in one place becomes better at noticing when the attention is not there, and your ability to maintain attention improves. How many people here remember when their mom or their dad took the stabilizers off the bike and pushed them down the road? Anybody remember that? You know, your first bike?
Last week.
And usually on our street it was always your dad. Yeah? And he would take the stabilizers off and he'd run behind you and he'd say, okay, go son. And you'd take off. And because you weren't used to supporting yourself, you'd go, hey, I'm riding the bike. And then you start to fall over. Okay? And when you start to fall over, you automatically overcorrected. You said, oh, I need to throw myself back this way. And then you started falling this way. And so you went down the road like that. Okay? 24 hours later, you went down the road like that. Every cyclist in the world looks stable. No cyclist in the world is stable. They're doing that. But they're doing those corrections imperceptibly. Attention and perfect attention is not achievable, at least not with an awful lot more work than you and I are prepared to put in. But the ability to get that greater level overall of attention by correcting is entirely achievable. And that's the purpose of this exercise. So put everything out of your hands for now. And please, again, a little bit like yesterday, I'd just like you to sit with your feet flat on the ground. Put your hands in your lap, either in your lap or on your knees. And I just want you just for a moment, just allow your attention to drop down to your feet. I'm not saying look at your feet. I'm not saying focus on your feet. Just become aware that your feet are on the floor. Just allow yourself just to settle down there. And just allow the attention just to drop down. And you might do a quick scan of your body, just if you're holding yourself anyway tight, shoulders clenched, jaw clenched, etc. You just let that go. Let it all hang out. Now, for this exercise, you can either close your eyes or keep them open. If you keep them open, I suggest that you keep them about 3 or 4 feet on the floor, or 3 or 4 feet in front of you, with a soft focus. And when you're ready, I want you to allow your attention to move from your feet up to notice your breath going in and out. Don't play with the breath. Don't make it bigger, don't make it deeper. Allow it to do what it's doing, and just follow it going into your body. And going back into your body. And you may notice it going in at your nostrils. Slightly colder going in than when it comes back out. You may notice your lungs and your abdomen expanding a little bit. And then on the out breath, feel the lungs and the abdomen maybe collapsing back, and a slightly warmer air coming out. But however you find it easiest to notice the breath going in and out of your body, just pay attention to it. And pay a light attention. Now, anytime there's a distraction, anytime you find yourself thinking about something, or you're not focused on the breath, that's okay. The attitude of mind is, oh, I just became slightly more mindful. All you do is just notice I lost attention, and return back to noticing the breath. And if you lose attention 20 times, or 30 times, or 40 times, it's okay. That's the point. So, for the next minute or two, follow your breath in and out, noticing when you lose attention, and returning the attention back to the breath in silence for a minute or two. Remember, if you lose attention 100 times, just return the attention to the breath 100 times. The point of this exercise is to notice when you lose attention, not to have perfect attention. Some people find it convenient to count in-breaths. So the first in-breath is 1, the second 2, going maybe to 5, resetting. And if you lose the count, just going back to 1 and starting again. Whatever works for you is good. The whole point is just to notice when you've lost attention. Everything that distracts you gives you an opportunity to notice distraction. So again, just return to the breath, gentle attention, not trying too hard. Just follow it for a few more seconds. If you've not done this before, or done much, and you're finding this difficult or effortful, I think it'd be useful just to notice, am I clenching up? And just to relax and allow the breath to do what it's doing. Just allow it to pass by and just to observe it. So the next breath, just make the next breath a little bit longer, a little bit slower coming out. As you get towards the end of the next one, just open your eyes, you can stretch, and we'll carry on. This program is different to the other 3 programs in the sense that there's a very large content, a large part of the content, which is subjective, okay? There's no right or wrong answer, it's experiential. And the key thing when you stand in front of a group is that you have to be in either 1 or 2 states, declare yourself to be in either 1 or 2 states in front of them. One is you have a practice. So you know, and I shouldn't use the word, but you know that a mindful practice is a struggle. You're continually working, you're trying to figure out, how do I make this work? And it's broken and I can't seem to clear my mind, which is one of those questions that comes up. You're not trying to clear your damn mind. Your mind will clear on the last day, and again, you won't be caring about it at that particular stage. So you need to either be up here as a practitioner who is going through the same experiences as the people in the room, so that when they ask you a question about what it's like, say for example, I couldn't clear my mind, that you've been there, seen it, done it, I can speak to it. Not as an expert, but as a fellow traveler. As somebody who is on that path, if you want to call it that, who is I don't want to say struggling, but you know what I mean, who's working with that same material. So, and one of the reasons that's really important for this room is because this program does not generally attract an audience which is 100% beginners. The people that come to this program are very frequently people who will have deeper, longer, older practices than you. But they want to know how to contextualize it. They want to understand how to bring it into the real world or into the business world. So either you stand up there with a practice, and if your practice is shallow, you let people know. You just open up. I've only been practicing for 6 or 7 months myself. You know, here's my experience. You're not an expert. We are none of us experts. Or you stand up and you declare that you're a technician. If you don't have a practice and you are forced for whatever reason to deliver this in front of a group, you're saying, I don't actually have a practice. Here's my understanding, having studied all this material, having studied with some people who have worked on this. Here's my understanding of how to contextualize that in. And you can see that that second position is not as strong as the first position. But believe me, it's an awful lot stronger than the third position, which is being cut out. Because you will be cut out if you try to be a guru. We are none of us at that point, so thanks for that, Julie. Let me tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, and because it underpins how I came into this business, we are the only assessment company in the world who have a tool that in any way measures something relevant to people who are students of mindfulness. Okay? Here's where you start. Our emotional intelligence starts with self-awareness. It starts with knowing yourself, noticing emotions as they arise in yourself, and giving yourself that pause, that gap between stimulus and reaction that gives you that sort of choice. And it's only when you develop that faculty yourself that you can maybe start to use that with other people, and awareness of others will become more authentic and emotionally reasonable and so on and so forth. And we measure in our assessment how people see you show up, the specific way they see you demonstrating your self-awareness, demonstrating your awareness of others. So first off, that's really important. We show how you show up. We show the extent to which you demonstrate your self-awareness, to which you demonstrate your awareness of others. Now, there are lots of ways into self-awareness, but by far the quickest one is mindful meditation, is a mindful practice. And it doesn't have to be sitting on a cushion with your eyes shut, focusing on your breath. It might be just as you're walking to the bathroom, bringing attention to your feet on the floor, noticing that you're walking, noticing the sensation what it is to walk. It might be noticing when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, that you're brushing your teeth in the morning and bringing attention to that, and just noticing what's going on with you. But the connection back to the assessment is, our clients are not going, for the most part, are not going to come to us and say, I want a mindfulness program. They're going to come to us in some form of words or others. They're going to say, I want the benefits of a mindfulness program. And the benefits that they'll have heard of are attention, focus, greater well-being, stronger mental health, etc. And what we give is the ability to measure the effectiveness of a mindfulness program in a way that nobody else can. We can look at how do people feel you show up in terms of your self-awareness, your awareness of others, your authenticity, etc. Before you go through this practice, and how do they experience you show up after the practice. We are the only assessment in the market that can do that. That's why I'm here. When I called Ben on day one, I was calling for Google from Search Inside Yourself. They wanted an assessment to measure before and after. I tell you, there's nobody else can do it. So you have a unique opportunity where you can say, we have a mindfulness program where I can show you the return on investment. I can give the people in the room a rationale for wanting to develop a mindfulness practice that has nothing to do with spirituality. So this is a huge industry. Look at the size of it in the US alone. From 0 to 1.1, I thought it was 1.2 billion, but let's not fall out over 0.1 of a billion. 1.1 billion industry right now. Your clients are out there asking for it in one form or other. They may not be asking for mindfulness, they may not be asking for emotional intelligence, they might be saying, we're really scared we're going to get our asses sued off because people are falling over with stress. We're really concerned about productivity, we're really concerned about people creaking at the seams. That's the big opportunity. If we were doing a SWOT analysis of old, that's the opportunity. Our biggest threat is this. If you do a program and you don't either get up there and declare yourself that I'm a technician and I'm not an expert at this and I'm giving you what I understand, you're going to go into that there is going to be a mindfulness backlash. It's coming. It's already started. They're already talking about it. And you're going to get hammered. And it's going to hurt your reputation. You don't need that. Okay? So here's my advice. Have a robust personal practice. Hell, it's good for you anyway. Okay? Or don't try to fake it till you make it. Stand up there and say, I haven't been practicing for a long time myself. Okay? Here's my understanding. Here's the way I work with it. Here's my experience, because it is about sharing your experience. Now, if you don't have a practice, or your practice is not robust, or your practice is not deep enough, there are a few simple ways into it. And I'll give you a few suggestions. We're going to do a webinar that will go a little bit deeper on this. In nearly every city in the world, for about $200 or thereabouts, you'll get an 8-week program that came from John Kabat-Zinn in the States 20 years, 30 years ago, called mindfulness-based stress reduction. It's a fantastic 8-week introduction into mindfulness. And you go into 8 sessions, about 90 minutes a week over an 8-week period. It's a fabulous way of getting into it. Okay? If you can't get to one of those, we're just about to run session 7 of an 8-session program. We'll be putting those up for you in Genos University. And that's going to be really useful, not so much for developing the practice, although it'll be useful, but giving you the language, giving you how to communicate this. And the third one, this is, in my opinion, having read a lot of books, I think is the best book that has been written for somebody who wants to develop a practice, written by an Englishman called Mark Williams with Danny Penman. And God, he has the flummiest, loveliest meditation voice you ever heard in your life. But one, it's a fabulous read, but it has a CD that goes with it that gives you an 8-week study plan. So it gives you this week, not study plan, 8-week practice plan. This week, every day for 10 minutes, do this practice. Week 2, week 3, week 4. But if this is something that turns you on, it's good because there's huge opportunity there. But be ready for it.